And we are live. Welcome back. You've reached the most recent installment yet again of the Mecca of Banter. Thanks for tuning in. It's your boy here, Hoove, Young Yid on Twitter. Starting it off, we had a hell of a weekend. We actually, for the first time in the history of this podcast, I believe, every single one of our teams won. So
that's what we're talking about, man.
That's pretty electric. Come on. W's in the chat. I will drink to that. I will drink to Spurs wins. I'll drink to Spurs losses too. So don't get it twisted. But let's check in with the lads. Doze, what's going on with you?
What's going on, fellas? Good to be here. The undefeated run in 2024 moves on for Manchester United. And also, Bielefeld ended their 4-game skid of losing. They did win 3-0 this weekend. The other team, Freiburg, is in last place and did get a red card in the first half. But it doesn't matter. We take dubs any way we can. We're staying up. But happy to be here. You know, it's nice to see all of the fellas this week going to be in a good mood for once. We'll see if we can get some banter going, but everybody's happy. But good to see you fellas. Happy to dive in.
Yep. Cycling it back to the other section of the United Corner. Hen, what's going on?
Yeah, it's interesting. This is either going to be a really lovely podcast or the most dull one we've had because there's not too much banter to go around this episode. But what's up, lads? It's Hen. You can find me on Twitter at HenryWind. It's a great week to be a Manchester United fan. I know I sent you all a photo of me celebrating the goal when I was in my store. Couldn't yell because,
hilarious, by the way.
Can't do that. Good, yeah. Bricked up. Hoover, I also appreciate you introducing yourself verbally tonight because we can't really tell that it's you on the recording. So if you're watching with us on YouTube, is it Andy? Is it not? We don't know. Could be anyone.
A couple of us are handicapped in the Wi-Fi / webcam world. Apparently, my 2015 dinosaur MacBook is not wanting to support any sort of high-quality video. So and it looks like maybe Nikki's even a little blurry on my screen. Could just be me. But Nick, what's going on with you? Checking in.
Not blurry on my screen, but hopefully it stays that way. Hoove, I think you look great. But, checking in at Hayfy4 on Twitter. Boy, is it a crazy world in the Twitter sphere when you are winning games because I've seen followers 2 weeks ago saying they want to burn the club, and now we're the greatest club in the world. So it's definitely interesting in the Twitter world, but happy to be on the winning side during this podcast because I was definitely a little nervous in the beginning. But happy to banter.
It's nice to hear that it sounds like you finally found your crowd on Twitter. Absolutely delusional people all finding each other.
To be fair, I don't know if I've found the crowd. It's more so of just what I'm seeing in the Twitter world.
I'm guessing it's probably more so just Chelsea supporters as a whole than it is, the general delusion.
Yeah.
You may be right on that. I'm starting to learn.
And last but not least, the man had a rout this weekend. Winksy, what's going on, brother?
What's up, fellas? Yeah, I know. I agree. I was going to echo what Hen and Dobe said about it being a more boring episode with none of us losing, but I feel like the only way to banter about that is who won by the least amount of goals. So I should be in the clear there. But yeah, no, stoked. Great weekend. Great day yesterday. Went downtown for Mardi Gras on Saturday, which was electric for any of you who know what Mardi Gras in St. Louis is like. Still recovering from that a little bit, as you can see. So excited to dive in, though. Good to see you guys.
Yeah, the Mardi Gras weekend in St. Louis is not to be taken lightly. I am returning for the first time on this pod since returning from Costa Rica.
Welcome back.
So excited for that. Did not step out on Saturday. Body physically didn't let me. But yeah, sticking with the topic of St. Louis, St. Louis City SC wrapped up their final public preseason game. I do believe that they're playing Louisville at some point this week. They took a 2-0 lead and win over New York Red Bulls with, what was it? Forsberg himself leading the line over at New York. And I got to watch the first half, didn't get to see the second. I didn't pull too much from this one. We saw a Blom floated attempt at a cross get caught in the sun and the keeper drop it and the ball go in. And then we saw, a late penalty that was converted. But I didn't get to pull too much other really than the starting lineup felt strong, and it felt kind of like what Carnell's honing in on, towards the end of this preseason stint and going into not this upcoming Tuesday, but next Tuesday in the return to City Park against Houston. So we'll hop in on that. What are your guys' thoughts? Did you see any lineup stuff you liked? We're still waiting on Nelson and Lewin to get back from Europe to get their green cards. So we didn't see them play. We saw Ostrak, and we assume Yarrow in as the two that will probably get swapped out when they do get back. But what did you guys think about it? What did you like?
My only takeaway that I've honestly been trying to watch a bunch when watching these games is something you were kind of just hitting on, is that center back pairing. Just because I think that's something we lacked at last year, was the experience and a duo that was working well together and can actually take up the space needed as a center back partnership. So I'm really interested to see what type of pairing he sticks with. Obviously, we're big Yarrow fans, but I think as the season progresses and as we start to get into the start of the season, I really hope he starts realizing that experience as a partnership center backing duo is very important, and I hope we continue to see that throughout the year.
Yeah. You go ahead.
Well, I would just say the main thing that I saw with it is just we're still, it's preseason, so I don't want to get too, bent out of whack, but we look slow. We look like our connecting of passes looks slow. Our ability to break and transition looks a little bit slow. There's a couple of guys who look, I don't know. I like the work ethic for some guys, but when you're putting in tackles slow and a second late, it's just going to get fouls, yellow cards quickly. So we still look slow. I don't know how Houston's going to go next week. We'll see. I do think, and again, don't want to get too hyped on it, I think the Durkin pickup is a good one. I think the couple games and blips, not just because he scored, last game, 2 games ago, but he's willing to put in a tackle. He's willing to put in a shift on both sides of the field. And he's not afraid to play super simple. He'll connect passes. He'll play like a true 6 role. I like the way he plays. I think that he was a really good pickup. And we didn't give up too much to get him, so I think that he could be a really pivotal part of our team. A couple of guys, I can't tell if they're just playing out of position because it's preseason and we don't have Leuven and we don't have certain guys, but Ostrak playing like a 6 is so odd to me.
Nope, can't do it.
What? Worst comes to worst, you have Indy there, and he did it fine last year. It wasn't his best position. We saw him play better elsewhere, but why are we putting Ostrak, who played at 10 or like a second striker last season or a winger? Why is he our number 6? So again, I don't know if that's just limitations and that's Carnell saying, we just want this guy on the field regardless of where he is. But I don't know. At the end of the day, you're going to see 11 guys play on Tuesday of next week. And, maybe we'll stretch that to 14 or 15 with subs. And so not all 20 something guys that played in preseason are going to be the guys that play. But I think from what we saw from, the 2 signings out of the super draft, I think they did enough to make the squad. Well, are they going to play all the time? I don't know. I think they'll both make the squad. Durkin for sure will be challenging for starting spots. And the wingbacks have looked at least promising. It looked better than what we had last season. So I would say from an off-season perspective, not exactly the worst. It's not the worst one that we've had, or maybe it is the worst one we've had because we've only had one. But I still, my biggest question mark, man, is what are we going to do about the forward position? Klaus and Sam do not work together. And I feel like we're just continuously trying to force this down people's throats, and it's just not working. And then you get Thor coming on both of the games, scoring goals, scoring pens, but then you also see him going down every chance he gets, trying to draw 3 or 4 pens a game in preseason. I don't like that. So that's really my thought with it. I'm stoked on Durkin. And I at least have high hopes for the wingbacks, and we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at since we've last had a podcast, we beat LA 1-0, and then obviously tied 2-2 this weekend. My biggest concern is still the fact that we play in, what is today's date? The 12th. We play in 8 days, and we're sort of not exactly expecting, but like this team clearly misses Lewin and Nielsen, who haven't played with this 11, who haven't played in the system, who haven't been like getting reps. And if you watch these games, like, yes, we beat LA. Like our defense was still Swiss cheese. Like Berkey had to make a big save. Like we still didn't necessarily look like we had continuity at the back. Same thing goes for this weekend against Red Bull. Red Bull scored 2 goals. Probably could have had a few more. Probably should have had a few more, to be honest. So definitely a little bit nervous in terms of just going into Houston right away. Like CONCACAF Champions League, we want to do well. We want to put our best foot forward going into the season. We have 8 days left for that. Yes, we're undefeated in preseason, but I still don't necessarily know if I've seen enough from a complete performance standpoint from a team to be like, all right, we're super ready to go into this season. And I think the biggest concern, truthfully, going in is, like you said, Hen, like Big Sam and Klaus, neither of them have scored.
Yeah.
Like we haven't seen a 9 or a striker step up and score. We've had a Durkin goal. We've had a Blom goal. We've had a Penn. We had a Kyle Hebert worldie scoring against World Cup champion Hugo Lloris. Like
awesome.
We haven't necessarily seen. Yes, I forget who it was when AZ had the assist. It was kind of a nice buildup. We haven't exactly seen like nice buildup play to score, and that just may be preseason. That may be, integrating new pieces, and but at the same time, like we qualify for the CONCACAF Champions League. We have 8 days, and so that's my biggest concern. Of course, I'm excited. There's players like Dirk and Hen, like you said, that I'm looking forward to. There's players like Cilio that I'm looking forward to sort of stepping up and taking a bigger role this year. But if you were to ask my confidence level in terms of going into the season, it's kind of like a 5 or 6, and we'll do like a full dive in later on. But based off what I've watching all 3 preseason games, I'm not necessarily sold that we're going to go play Houston and just beat the brakes off of them, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
I'm with you. The biggest concerns to me, for sure, Nick mentioned it. The center back pairing is crucial. We saw Nilsson come in last year after he was, fully fit, slid in right next to Tim Parker, and that was some of our worst stretch of games, which truthfully we think is going to be the best center back pairing that we have going forward. They're the 2 most experienced players. From what I saw from Nilsson, individual effort, he was class. I thought he was great. His positioning, his defensive awareness, all of that was really good. Tim maybe didn't pick up on that, or there's a chemistry aspect that has to be there for them to make it effective. I think they're the 2 best center defenders we have, but Tim and Yarrow looked great. We had a lot of really good games with them paired. So I'm concerned about that. Watching the games and these 2 strikers, obviously, if you see me on Twitter going at anything about the 4-2-2-2 or the 4-1-2-1-2 narrow diamond, it's me. I'm pissed about it. And we are very much so going to play that formation. We are very much so going to play that fashion, and I already hate it. The thing that I think we're not going to see a difference on from this year and last year is understanding Carnell's tactics. So the day that we do, we'll let you know. I don't see it yet. And like you said, Ostrak playing in a 6, he didn't do anything last year to get me to be like, yeah, we need to see him more. Like he just didn't provide as much. And, I think it's hard for a new team. It's hard for new players. There's so many aspects and factors there, but the guy that I want to see more is Celio. Like why, what's the drawback to getting a guy who's a natural winger and good in one-on-one situations take people on? He was the only source of, offense against Kansas City towards the end of last year too. Let the Brazilian dance, man. I want to see more of that. Like we don't have guys like that. We're Nordic FC right now.
Yeah.
Which is fine. Technical players, love it. Smart, football players. But my last thought is that I almost shed tears watching Totland in the first 2 seconds of the game when he was in. I almost cried. I was so happy to see what was coming from a wing back on this City team. I'm pumped for him. I'm pumped for the new wingbacks. I really hope we see them, kind of flourish. And if we do shift into like a 5-back system, that's fine as long as it's not Jose's and it's more of the Conte, high flying type of 5-back, more of a 3. So we'll leave that.
That's
go ahead.
Interesting. Well, just about Ostrak, and I'll have to fact check myself before we do the full St. Louis City season preview, but I'm almost positive he's one of our highest paid players. Almost positive he's next to Lewin and Berkey as our top paid player. I think part of that was his age profile and perhaps stealing him away from some European clubs and giving him some notoriety. But we saw how little he was used last season. And it wasn't just because of coaching decisions. He didn't earn it, we didn't see him do anything to get us excited. But I think maybe Carnell, or maybe he's feeling pressure from the board saying you got to get this guy on the field if we're going to pay him this much money. I don't know, but I think it is worthy of noting that he is in the top 3 earners of the club, and other guys are coming for a spot pretty quick.
Dude, the number one thing that bothered me, and I hope to God this doesn't lead to the future and what it looks like. But with Sam and Klaus up top, naturally you're going to have one guy that drops a little bit deeper, and naturally that should probably be Klaus. He's just better with his feet, better in a build-up. He's dropping way too deep, like punch my eyes out deep. We've got a killer in the box, an absolute dog, number 9, and we're going to pull him away from that. We there were things, obviously not comparing them to Harry Kane or comparing Klaus to Harry Kane, but there was so much controversy when he was playing with Spurs about how deep that he would draw, but he'd pull back so deep to get on the ball, but then he would make the things happen. And I don't want that to be Klaus. I don't expect that of him. Nobody in the world has as good of a passing range besides probably KDB and a few others as Harry Kane. I think that's the honest truth. So expecting him to do that is insane. We're pulling our biggest asset away from the part of the field that you want him in. And I think it's smart to have Sam on the back of the defender making those incisive runs into the corner. That's where he's best. He's incredible off the ball. He's got ridiculous pace. He'll beat whoever. But then every time that I saw that he did do that in these preseason games, Klaus wasn't even in frame. That's a problem to me. Mm-hmm. And I just really hope that doesn't continue.
I also think Klaus doesn't necessarily have that pace that you need, when you're coming from that 10 role. Klaus is not the quickest player in the world. Yeah, he has decent feet. He's best places in the box. What Harry Kane's so good at doing is he'll play that 60-yard ball on a dime, but then he'll bust his ass to the center of the box and he'll get there. To where Klaus, it's he can do that, but I don't necessarily think that he has the legs. He's a horse, but he's not that quick to necessarily play a pass. I don't know if he has the quality to play a pass, and then past that, even has the quality to get in the box. So I think that's where his best strength is, in the box, around the box, a poacher, and it's just kind of wasting what he's good at in order to play Sam in front of him. So.
Yeah. So those are the final thoughts on at least the preseason. We do start up again next Tuesday against Houston in the CONCACAF Champions League. I'm pumped about it. Obviously, we get to get back in City Park. Gassed about that. Would love to win the CONCACAF Champions League in my mind, and then go to the Club World Cup, potentially see a City or something like that. That would be electric scenes.
That would be asinine.
That would be
Tim Parker up against Holland.
It would literally be the situations, I know I've had them with my girlfriend, and she's like, well, is there any world where, St. Louis could play Arsenal or Liverpool or City? And I was like, no, not really. But there is one way. And it would feel like a fantasy, like a FIFA game. Those are the 2 teams we just drafted up. But, hopefully it happens. Hopefully we make a strong run. We will see, and I'm nervous. We're all nervous. Hopefully it gets better. But moving on from St. Louis, we're going to slide over to our Premier League recap. And like I said earlier, we all won. Whether or not these matches were deserved 3 points, or whether or not you left them late, None of that matters because 3 points is 3 points is 3 points. I'm sure we'll find some space for banter. I have no doubt that's just in the nature. We're going to jump over Liverpool. They did take a 3-1 win over Burnley, as they probably should have. Jurgen got to celebrate really hard in front of all of the fans, and it's going to look really cool on the documentary they're doing about him. But without Butch to defend all of that, we're just going to laugh at him and, maybe move on. Nikki, what's your thought?
The only one thing I wanted to say about this, and I might be on this train, and I know I've kind of said it a couple of times, but I don't know if you guys agree or disagree with me, but when watching this game, the moment Trent came off the field, I thought they played better, but that's just my opinion.
I love that this is like your own personal mission. Like,
agenda, man.
It's your agenda that Trent's the worst player to grace the Prem.
The worst. I just think they're playing him out of position. That's all it is. That's all it is. They bring in Harvey Elliott and they start playing a lot better.
That's nuts. It's nuts. I mean, I didn't watch it because I genuinely hate watching Liverpool, so I'll take your word for it. But it is funny. It's the same song and dance out of you a couple weeks in a row now, Nikki.
You're on agenda watch. They were tied 1-1 at half. They were getting exposed on the counter once again, and then he gets hurt. They bring in Harvey Elliott, and they completely control the game.
Didn't Trent move to the top of the table for like all-time assists this weekend?
Yes.
Yeah, as a defender.
Yeah, whatever. Good for him. Shout out Flannery one time. There you go, brother.
Whatever.
Yeah.
Sliding on down to North London. Never dull over at N17.
Let's hear it, Hoof. Let's hear it, baby. Come on
never
now.
Dull. Your boy had quite the Saturday morning. Saved the weekend a little bit. Spurs took a 2-1 win over Brighton. They left it late, like usual. And to be honest, this is one of those that, this is smash and grab, in my opinion. I don't think they deserve to win the game. There were some questionable choices on the lineup. I don't think Bentancur's had a good run of form recently, and, I beat that drum like none other. So it's a bummer to kind of watch him. I think he was playing in more of a 6-2, though, and I didn't love that. The moral of the story here is that Heung-min Son is world class, and there's no way around it. He is so good. I obviously knew that Spurs missed him when he was with South Korea in the African Cup or Asian Cup, and I didn't realize how much we missed him until he played 40 minutes, 35 minutes of the match on Saturday.
I mean, you guys did fine. You guys did fine without him, though. I don't think you guys lost a game while he was out there.
The points they pulled without him
was wild.
The what?
Would have been 3 points.
The Son jump was wild. Like you could, when Son came back, you could really see the change.
Well, and it's like like Nick, you said, but Timo gets into the best positions, like better than anyone else on the pitch. He just finds himself breaking lines, connecting passes, and then he literally brain shuts down as soon as he sees the side of net.
And then you show a side by side of them dribbling, and it's laughable.
Oh yeah, it's almost sad. Like I need him to score a goal for him because you can tell he's so jumpy in front of net. The two shots that he's sent in the last 2 games that were decent shots and saved, they were at a rolling pace towards the net. Like he just doesn't even connect to the ball well, but he'll ping a ball. Like he'll find a pass, no problem. As soon as he gets to the net, it gets not great. But yeah, I thought Brighton were really good for 60 minutes. And they're just so, they're so well trained. They play great football. I love Roberto De Zerbi. Pesky team, no matter who you are and whenever you play them. But yeah, seriously, I mean, Sonny coming in, the link up between Matters, Richie, Sonny to Brendan Johnson was definition Ange Ball. And what I've learned about Ange Ball since he's become our manager, you need to do that more often because you're going to give up chances and the back's going to be open. Like that's just what it is. Like someone called him Australian Bielsa, and it made my stomach flip a little bit because I hated that comparison. But long term, Bielsa has more trophies than Spurs in the last 25 years. So, what are you going to do? You just need to do more of that. Sonny helps that happen. Everything runs through matters. I don't think it was his greatest game either, but being able to split lines with a pass. No, we haven't had that for actually since Christian Eriksen left. No one came in to play that role. And it's really nice seeing that because that was, the basis of the buildup and the goal at the end. And Brendan Johnson, he was not expected to come in and be a starting right winger. I don't think. I think he was expected to be a squad player. He's still really young. Get some minutes under his belt. And with the injuries, he's been forced into this role, and he's been streaky, no way around it. But also, he's come up big multiple times. I do think there's a player there. I talked to Jacob Krupp about it. And he really feels that he fits the profile of a Nottingham Forest counterattacking football, quick breaks, direct runs more than a more intricate passing style Spurs. But I think that kind of thing just takes time when you're young. I'm really excited for him, and I'm pumped that he got that goal because I think he almost missed it. It bobbled up right across the net. I would have missed it. I know for a fact. But yeah, nice to grab 3 points. Spurs have a really good stretch of games in the next 4, Fulham and a couple others that are winnable games. So would love to see some more points tacked on the board.
I thought Sarr's goal was awesome.
Awesome.
Dribbling as far as he did. And then he played the square ball, and that was absolutely the right pass to make.
Yeah.
Just got an amazing cutout by Lewis Dunk. The hell of a defensive play. And then the finish from Sarr wasn't exactly a tap in. It was a crazy angle. It finished it with confidence, and he's just going to keep getting better and better. I'm very curious of what kind of profile he grows into because he's 21 years old now. Yeah. He has a lot of room to go a couple of different ways, but I think he was great. The other thing from this game that I don't know how you all feel about this, but I kind of think Mitoma was a flash in the pan last year. I don't know how you all feel about it, but today I saw reports that City, Barcelona, and United were all lining up moves for Mitoma, which is obviously just clickbait, is what it is. But I'm I don't even know if he's in the conversation this year of, top 5 left wingers in the Prem. And he was on everyone's hot list last year. I think he kind of rose, and now he's fallen off a ton, and he's just not that guy anymore. Granted, he did pull a disgusting nutmeg on Van de Ven, and then Van de Ven made a freakish play to get back to block the shot. But he's just, I don't know, I feel like he's regressed a lot this year, and no one's really talking about it. And maybe that's just because he's a Brighton player, but yeah, it's just not the same.
I don't know. I feel like they got rid of a couple guys in the summer, and their team as a whole was on a pretty big high towards the end of last season, or honestly a lot of last season. I know we were all fans of them, and I feel like with some of the guys they gave away, Caicedo being one of them, maybe they're just not the same team surrounded by the same players that allowed him to excel like he did last year. I could see it being a situation where he could perform like we were praising him for last year if he had the right guys around him, but I don't know if that's the case.
Yeah,
right now or not.
I think it's one of those where he goes to City and he has a Doku-esque year, just because of the ability that he does have. But even I kind of agree, he's not been the player that we knew him to be last year. But there were 1 or 2 moments in the game against Spurs where it's just I can't believe he just brought that ball down. There was one straight out from a goal kick, broke the back line. He was kind of sort of in. And he brought it down. No sweat, didn't even look at it. And I was audibly whoa. That was slick. So I don't think the talent's gone. Brighton's also not been healthy all year either. And I'm with Winks, I think, as a whole. It's tough to have to be the guy for Brighton, I think. When, half the team is 18-year-old South Americans that no one's ever heard of, but are dogs. He's got to adjust to that role, but one to watch for sure.
Who before we move on from Spurs, And I'm curious your question because I have my answer. I guess I'll just say it. And every week I get more and more impressed because I think he's the most important piece to the way you play outside of Sonny. Like, I think Mickey Van de Ven is the most important player on Spurs team. Like, just the way that this guy he's press resistant. He can play a through ball. I think he's the fastest player, isn't it, like the history of football?
Ever in the Premier League.
Ever. And every single week that I watch him, I just get more and more impressed. And obviously that relationship with Romero has become, but like Spurs I guess there is a large drop off at center back just from like Davies and who else fills in there. But like to me, Van de Ven is almost the most important piece in the way that you guys play. And I have just been extremely, extremely impressed with him. Just the way that, we see the learning curve in the Prem. And since he came in, he was great, got hurt, came back, great again. Like he's just been phenomenal.
It's wild watching them play this high line. Ball gets in, kind of behind. And I don't even like it doesn't.
He's press resistant.
I feel nothing. I feel nothing because he's going to get to the ball first. Like 9 times out of 10, he is literally tracking down balls so fast. He's pulling up on attackers with ridiculous speed. That like you're right. It was evident when Ben Davies was playing that role while he was hurt that we didn't have that style of player to let everyone confidently know that the back line's going to be fine. And now it's like. The only
22 years old too, which is
I was just gonna say that. Like we talked, I think 2 pods ago about how like Winks, like Saliba's so young, but then Gabriel's not that old either, and they could really nail down that center back partnership. Tottenham's the same way. Like if 100%. Both of those guys can stay healthy and they don't go elsewhere, like you all could have your like franchise center backs for the next 10 years.
Yeah, I think
Romero's better than Eric Dyer.
Yeah. It's the new Vertonghen and whatever the fuck.
Did you see Eric Dyer this weekend?
Bro.
That's why I brought it up, because that performance was shocking in and of itself.
It's shocking that he started that game, bro. What is the thought? And in the way that they play as the lone center back, he's going to be your guy. But
it's also funny. I've kind of been on this like we should have never fired Tuchel thing, but like also at the same time I'm watching him doing at Bayern and I'm like, oh.
Yeah,
it's kind of in shambles.
Yeah.
So I mean, last point. The things that I'm excited about at Spurs right now have nothing to do with this season. You've got a 22-year-old center back who's the fastest player to ever run in this league. You've got a 21-year-old left back who's a dog up and down the box, Destiny. Pedro Porro's like 25, 26. Romero's 26, Sar's 21. We just snagged some Danish kid or Swedish kid from Barca.
The next Odegaard.
Apparently the next Odegaard or something. There's so much youth. Brennan Johnson's 21. Like the youth on this team is cool.
You still want 4th, right? Like you guys still want to finish in the top 4, and like you would be upset if you didn't, right?
At this point in the season, 100%. Okay. Coming into the season, not knowing jack squat about Ange and finishing 8th last year, the expectation was better, just do better. Now it's like I think that's evident to everyone else that they play. It's like we're in 4th now for a reason. They had so many key players out for the last 2 months, but they held it together, and now the team's almost 100% fit, and. I'm not saying title charge because I'm a Spurs fan and that's not something that I know, but good God, put some points on the board. You can catch yourself top 4, no problem from here. So, that's where I'm at wholeheartedly. And the future is cool, but if you don't win a trophy in the future, then the youth is for nothing. That's the life of a Spurs fan. It is what it is. The meme that I saw this weekend that killed me and I sent to you guys was the timeline of like underneath the Spurs game. It's like, oh boy, I'm so excited to watch my favorite team win. And then the bar under the Spurs was, I'm going to kill myself. And then the bar at the end of it was like, oh, nice, we won. Yeah. That's the Tottenham experience in a nutshell. But we will switch over to the other side of North London. I wrote no notes on this one because I was just going to let Winksy go for it. Declan Rice returns to West Ham United in that glorified football stadium that they play in, and they routed them 6-0.
Who scored against West Ham? Half the fucking team did. No, we sent a message on Sunday, even if it was against
Hold on, don't stop.
Paqueta-less West
you
Ham.
didn't send
Chill.
a message. You scored. You won a game.
We scored 6 goals.
What's the
West
message?
Ham-
West
What's
Ham
the
looks to
message
roll
that
over
you-
for everybody else.
I'm on Winks' side, to be honest.
Sending a message?
I mean, what are we talking about?
Anytime any team beats a team 6-0,
6-0 against West Ham, who's currently sitting in the top half of the table, is a message.
I think that's way too high of praise for the game.
okay. Well, it wasn't 7. You're right, but maybe 7 would have been grounds for a message.
Actually, do you want to start over? I feel like I ruined your.
You want to change it now?
No. Start over.
chilling,
So
dog.
Arsenal sent a message against West Ham United to the rest of the league.
Yeah, we did. And okay, go to bed. And on top of that, I think something that knowing the kind of form that City's in right now, keeping up with them is obviously super important. And we wiped out a 6-goal deficit between us and them for second place. So that means that they're only ahead of us by goals scored, which I think is super important in kind of underlying statistics. But yeah, biggest home defeat in West Ham's history. I honestly thought this one would be a lot closer, though, because the last 2 times we played them this season, both in the FA Cup and the regular season, they've beaten us. So while I thought it would be closer, I knew that we would come out firing in the first half like we do, but with a little extra chip on our shoulder. I think that with Declan Rice returning to London Stadium, it had to be him that day. And, he's getting booed before the game, which was interesting.
That's
because
Wild.
because their away fans didn't do that either of the last 2 times we played them. And knowing what he's meant to the club, we've all seen it both during his time there and after he left across social media, Twitter, etc. Knowing how much he's meant.
Oh, sorry.
Say what?
I was just going to say, after getting booed, he scores a banger and then doesn't celebrate.
Right, yeah. And so that's what I mean. It had to be him. He shut them up real quick, assisting 2 goals in the first half and then scoring the 6th, which was an absolute screamer. Didn't celebrate it either. The stadium was dead quiet after, besides our visiting fans. But then when they subbed him off, they all decided to clap for him, which was interesting that they decided to change their mind.
I don't like West Ham. I don't like West Ham fans. I don't like what they're about. They've been irrelevant my whole life.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
good. Fuck them.
Well, shout out to the roommate, John Noble, who's a big West Ham fan. He can properly suck it. But on top of that, I want to bring up something about how I don't get mad about a lot of stuff. I feel like I'm a very level-headed Arsenal fan. I'm a realist, but these pundits are fucking idiots. Alan Shearer came out after the game talking about how Rice didn't celebrate, and he said something to the effect of, "Look, I know what West Ham means to him, but I'm not really one for celebrating goals. You work all week to score goals. If it were me, I would have been celebrating." That is less than 1 week after all the pundits are complaining about us celebrating beating the team at the top of the table. And in that same weekend, last weekend, Richie doesn't celebrate scoring against Everton. And we don't hear a word about it except for people respecting him for not doing it. So they all just need to make up their fucking mind, because it's honestly driving me crazy how it seems. And I know I'm kind of in my own bubble with Arsenal, but it seems like it's just us that is getting shit on for celebrating beating a team at the top of the table 3-1, and then getting shit on when our guys don't celebrate against their old clubs. That Declan Rice has nothing but respect for West Ham, nothing but good things to say about them. They made his career into what it is now. That it was just super frustrating to read.
That's
read
success.
him say that.
That's success now.
100%.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, and I know when you're doing well, people are gonna
Yeah.
find a way to talk shit on you versus congratulating you if they're not a direct supporter of the club. And I'm okay with that. I talk to you guys every week throughout the week, so I'm used to it. But it's these guys that have these platforms that choose to be so wishy-washy with it. We can do it because we just do a podcast. We're not in front of, we're not on live TV talking about these games, but these guys just will, I don't know, they just find a way to do it. But regardless, it was a massacre.
They just like to blow hard, dude. All those guys are old now, and now they're all like crotchety old men that we have to listen to because they've been paid 6-figure contracts by Sky. Like, who cares about what Rio Ferdinand thinks? Like, any of those cats, they're so annoying. I like Phil Neville because I think he's funny, but I think he's a terrible pundit. Like
that's what I like about listening to the Champions League group, because they're like get straight to, and whenever they do their game analysis, they get straight to the point, and then they like make jokes at each other, and like that's how it should be, because they
showbiz, baby.
Yeah, granted, a lot of them have are very successful footballers, but the game is so different from when they were playing now. So many things have evolved that as former players, you would think that you would respect a team celebrating beating a team at the top of the table versus not celebrating against your old club.
Hear me out. I think it's because they're English. I think it's an English thing. Like, I don't know if that's 100% true.
Clicks also sell now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Hey, that's
what these guys do. Yeah.
That is true.
Winks, I have a question for you. And this is like no banter aside.
Bring it.
In our preseason for this episode, I picked Arsenal to win the league. One of the main reasons I did was because of Declan Rice. And I know we just got done shitting on pundits, but some of the pundits I do respect is whether it be a center back judging a center back, a wing back judging a wing back, because guys that have been there and done that, I think, have the best ability to give a perspective on that. And Gary Neville, after actually the United game this weekend, he gave his perspective on Arsenal this year and last year. He said last year at this time, Arsenal were having these wins, and you'd see, and it's not like celebrations, but it's like you see Zinchenko doing these sort of, beating City or whatever it may be, these over-the-top celebrations. And this is no knock on the team this year. But what he's saying is, what he said was that he feels like this year, because Arsenal did go through that last year, they're more prepared for what they're going to face this year. But also the fact that they're sitting 2 points off of first is almost kind of where you want to be at this point in the season. And I'm curious your feelings because of that. Because what Gary Neville was saying is that they have this experience from last year, having known that they sort of peaked too early. And now you're sort of sitting at that second place spot where you can kind of pounce at any moment. And not only that, but you also, all of the pressure right now is on Liverpool. If Liverpool drops points, they'll have bottled the lead. And Arsenal's kind of sitting there, just kind of sitting around waiting for their opportunity to where it gets to the end of the season. It's in May. Arsenal's in it. All of a sudden, it's like, boom, one game and you're there. So I'm curious, just like confidence level going through the rest of the season. Obviously, you don't have to give me we're going to win the title. But like, what do you think the difference is in a positive way from last year to this year? Because I kind of agree with him. 2 points is nothing, and there's no pressure.
Yeah, no, I agree. I feel like we all probably feel the same way. In a perfect world, we'd love to be in first all the way through and not have to worry about it. But there's a lot more from a team game perspective. There's a lot more motivation in chasing someone, knowing you're so close, than trying to like stay ahead of them. So I think that knowing that we kind of had our plunder of shitty games, over Christmas break, and that time frame was a good thing that we did it then versus the end of the season like we did last year. I think that there's a lot of motivation behind the club. I think that having a Declan Rice now only helps that. And I think that we're coming into good form, having won 4 out of our last 4 games since our version of winter break going to Dubai. So I'm feeling really positive about it. I like our rest of the season schedule a lot. Especially the next 4 to 5 to 6 games. And so I think there's definitely a chance for it, but it's one of those things that I've talked about before. We can't look too far ahead. You have to look at the next game and not worry about what anybody else is doing. Just focus on getting 3 points every single week, because a lot of these other teams in the top half of the table, top third of the table, are going to be getting those 3 points, minimum 1 points for the most part. So we can't pay too much attention to the media, and not we, the team. I'm going to pay attention to the media because I love that shit.
Yeah, facts.
But I eat that shit up. But but the guys can't be, scrolling Twitter and Instagram and reading all the shit about them that people are, making up or spinning or whatever the case might be. But I think we're in a really good spot, and I like it too. I just hope that we focus on us and not, again, what everybody else is doing. Because, like you said, once Liverpool do decide to slip and drop points, and we pounce, we're not sitting and waiting for them to do that. We're focusing on ourselves and just getting those points every week. So
I'm looking at your fixture list. And granted, I haven't looked at Liverpool's. I haven't looked at City's. I'm just looking at yours just because we're talking about you. Your last nine fixtures of the Premier League season, it's going to be some tough ones in there. You start off with City. You play Villa in that stretch. You play Tottenham in that stretch. Play United in that stretch. Brighton in that stretch. Like, there's just a couple of games there that it'll be an interesting close of the season for y'all. Like, I mean, obviously you have to get through like the next 8 before you get to the final 8 or 9. Like, but yeah, it'll be interesting end to the season to see if there's any slip up in points, where it is and when it is and why it is. So yeah, it'll be an interesting close.
We'll see. I honestly really think I've looked at all of your guys' schedules too, and I feel like the schedules for the most part, that's why I said the next couple games, not, the very end of the season, because I know that we have some tough ones left. But I feel like the schedules this year are really well balanced across the board compared to where they normally are, which is kind of weird. Maybe it's not, but I was thinking about that the other day. But long story short, sorry, I'll be done in a second.
Going back to this game, and I'm not going to say I have watched many Arsenal games this season, but I did watch the first half of this one, and I sent it in our group message. But Trossard during this game, I thought stood out to me.
Dude, he's so good.
His command of wanting the ball and then making stuff happen after getting the ball, I thought was brilliant. His ball that he played to Saka over the top, that caused the penalty, I thought was a great ball. And once again, him, like, there was moments where I would be like, oh, he hasn't touched the ball for a little bit. And then he'd just literally walk all the way back to the defense and be like, give me the ball, do a couple 1-2s, and then he'd be great.
You know what's so weird to me about that? I was thinking about that too, because I almost, and I hate saying this so much, but then you look at statistics and like McTominay's the leading scorer for United right now. Granted, he hasn't scored all of those goals from off the bench, but I think that Trossard's been one of the best super subs in the Premier League this year. And McTomminay has to be in that conversation too, but unfortunately, I think, yeah, dude, it's with our whole Gabriel Martinelli on the left wing deal and us still trying to figure out who our striker is. Like, I think he's so good, and I like him so much, and it was such a good pickup for his experience and still the level that he's at. He's one of those guys that anytime he comes on the field, my eyes are going to be glued to him the whole time. He's just so fun to watch.
Yeah, he's not shown that level either as a starter.
That's what I'm. That's why I mean as a super sub. He comes on and I don't know if it's a thing. You come on and he's got that mentality of wanting to be a game changer, or he's coming on against guys that have been running for 70 minutes, whatever the case is. Yeah, when he comes on in the second half that you're going to get a show.
Yeah, and to be fair, it popped up in my head because obviously I've said it from the beginning, don't trust FotMob's player rankings, but like looking at your guys' ratings after the game, like obviously Saka had 2 goals in a good game, but like Trossard created majority of those chances for Saka and he only had a 7.8. I find it interesting sometimes that like, yeah, Saka's doing great and having a great year and had 2 goals in this game, but like I feel like Trossard is kind of being underrated in that aspect for creating a lot of those chances.
Yeah, and I mean, one of Saka's goals was
like that's kind of his, like, he's supposed to be
absolutely.
That utility, like.
And one of Saka's goals was a pen, and Rice had 2 beautiful assists and an insane goal, and I don't even know what his FotMob rating was, but I know it was lower than Saka's, so you take it with a grain of salt.
When I really want to, have a bone to pick, I'm going to talk about how defenders are just blocking off keepers on corners, but I don't feel that I need to, go too far into that one. You scored 6 goals, so wasn't that controversial.
The
But
one's not gonna do it.
next time it comes up and you guys win by 1 because someone threw a body into a keeper, it has happened to Spurs multiple times.
Also
I think it should be a conversation.
Too, after like multiple minutes of stoppage time and they get one corner. Like, I haven't been saying that for a long time.
The agendas are piling up, lads.
So moving on, Arsenal take him down. Declan Rice wins it. United go away to Villa, and Scooby strikes again. The man himself, McSauce.
The legend, baby.
I actually literally called it in a text to Hen and Dobes that he was going to bag a 95th minute winner. Turns out it was just in the 86th. I watched the entirety of this game as well, but I'm curious to hear you guys' thoughts. Go ahead.
Before you guys go into it, I just want to pick your guys' brains. When this lineup came out, were you guys thrilled? Like, were you guys like happy with this lineup? Like, was this your guys' ideal lineup for what you have right now? Okay. Because I was thinking similarly, and I wanted to pick your guys' brain of like, I felt this is a lineup that they've been waiting for a little bit.
Yeah, need Licha, but this is pretty.
Yes.
Yeah. I think looking at this game, and you look on paper, you see Villa. Villa have been incredible at home. They have wins against Arsenal at home. They have wins against Man City at home. So from the start, you knew that this was going to be a tough game. And this, Hen and I have been saying it all week. We've been buzzing for this game. Why? Because to us, this was a final. Like this was a final. And what I mean by that, Villa are currently ahead of us. But if we would have lost this gap from 5th place, but you guys have to realize how much 5th place means this year. Because right now, the Premier League has, I think it's like a 72 point something. And yes, I'm doing research on it. A 72 point something % chance that if the Premier League teams continue to progress within the Champions League, that 5th spot in the Prem becomes a Champions League spot. So it becomes just massive. And if we lose that game, we go from either 11 points behind Villa. And if we win that game like we did, we're 5 points behind Villa and 6 points behind Spurs with everything to play for in front of us. We're starting to get healthy. We're starting to play well. Looking at this game specifically, you guys hear me talk about performance. This wasn't the game where the performance was necessarily there. Villa's a great side. Villa dominated a lot of possession. Most United sort of fan forums that I listened to prior to this game sort of predicted that this is the way that we were going to set up. Without Licha, having to play with the Maguire, having to play with the Varane, we can't necessarily play out of the back. So we kind of let Villa have a little bit of, decent amount of possession and tried to sort of press within the counter. That's kind of what happened. We didn't necessarily score from that. But it's exactly how you kind of expect this to set up. It's just a team that we have to accept that we are right now. We're not a team that week in, week out, when we play a team like Villa, who has a very dominant, settled midfield. Like, we have to expect that we're not going to keep possession, but we do have to do, and what I'm proud of the boys for, is you have to have that mentality no matter what happens in the game to continue to fight and win the game. You look at Rasmus's goal, have to credit Harry Maguire, dominant in both boxes. He was extremely dominant defensively in our own box, and every single time that we had a corner, he was dominant. Rasmus scores a goal again, 5 goals in 5 games, the second youngest ever to score in 5 straight games in the Prem. I think it was 2003. Nicholas Anelka was the youngest player to ever score in 5 straight games in the Prem. So have to be extremely happy with Rasmus getting the goal. Other sort of standout players that you sort of have to call out from this game. You have to give Onana his credit. Like, you have to, if I'm going to sit there and I'm going to talk shit on him as much as I want, I'm a firm believer of you can't necessarily judge a player in their first season. The second season is where sort of you get the full rounding of who they are, which is why Anthony is sort of dead to me now. You have to give him like a little bit of a chance going into the second season, but he hasn't necessarily proved that. And Onana has been, we're out of Europe because of him. He's been very suspect throughout the beginning of the season, but he was brilliant. He was brilliant on Sunday. He made the saves he had to say. Yes, some of them may have been right at him, but he also had to come out and make that big save to where he stopped the breakaway. Diego Dalot was another one where absolutely
Dalot was great.
Special player. And beginning of the season, you kind of sit there and you go, if you got to keep Aaron Wan-Bissaka or Dalot, I think I may have leaned Aaron Wan-Bissaka, but at this point in the season, Dalot has been brilliant. And you can see, I listened to Gary Neville talk that it took 3 years for him and Beckham to really form a partnership on the wing, to understand where they're going to be, and think he's been playing with Anthony. And now you add Garnacho as a piece to where they can interchange. Dalot's good at getting in behind and running around. For the fact that partnership's beginning to work. The other piece that I just want to talk on is And I think it's the most important, not most important, but most important right now is the job that Casemiro does for this team. And it goes unnoticed. I still don't think he's fully fit. But just like we're all athletes. Like we all play for a team. We all been part of a team. Think about the fact of you have like one of your star players, your most experienced players. It's won it all. He's been hurt. The moment that player comes back into your team, I know they're supposed to be professionals. You're supposed to always want to win. But the moment a 5-time Champions League winner comes back on that side, it gives an 18-year-old Kobe Mainoo a little bit more freedom to understand, hey, I'm not necessarily playing next to Scott McTomminay right now. I don't have to do the dirty work. I can step up. I can move upfield. So extremely happy with the performance. Last thing I'll touch on, have to touch on him, Scooby-Doo, man. Scooby-Doo. So he has 7 goals this season, and they directly relate to us gaining 12 points.
That's insane.
Fucking insane. The guy can't dribble to save his life. If you ask him to play football, he can't play football. But if you ask him to come on and be a super sub and score a goal, the guy's got it in him. And I was pissed off when he got subbed in the game. I thought Ten Hag got it completely wrong. How the fuck do you take off Marcus Rashford and basically sub on Scott McTominay? But you know what? The Baldy did it. He had a masterclass. He puts on Scott McTominay and he scored. And the fact, I got to mention the rat, Douglas Luiz, man. Douglas fucking Luiz.
My favorite player.
When do you learn to not celebrate and dance like that against United? Literally, get your ass back home, put the collar around your neck, let Alicia drag you around the house, and go the fuck back home, dude. Because the fact that he did that was just out of nowhere either. The fact that he sat there and did it to Rafael.
I thought it was Onana.
Was he doing it at Onana?
Because the only reason I think it was Varane is because after McTominay scored, Varane went straight to Douglas Luiz and got in his face.
Great.
So that's my Douglas Luiz is certified bitch. Very good player, but certified bitch.
I love the guy. He punked Spurs. I think he's so quality. And that I laughed out loud at watching that goal celebration. I thought that was the funniest thing I've ever seen.
He's literally being dragged through the internet right now, and I've never been happier.
Man, I got nothing else. That was a great summation. I was stoked with the win. Doesn't need to be pretty, but man, do we need those 3 points. We needed them so bad. You spoke on the points differential that it could have led to if we drop points, but shout out to the boys making it happen. To be fully transparent, going into the last 3 games, I did not think that we'd pick up 9 points from the last 3. We needed it.
2 away, 1 at home too.
Yeah, and it also just goes to show, if we get our healthy starting 11 back, we're dangerous. But the issue comes in, second half. We're making subs. Obviously, that's what you need to do. I looked at the lineup before McTominay came on, and I was like, oh, we actually don't have subs. We don't have anyone to bring on.
Villa was deeper than we were, 100%.
Yeah, Luke Shaw played great in the first half, but we have to bring on Lindelof because you assume that it's an injury to Luke Shaw. But we don't have any wing backs on our bench at all. We're playing with the classic 4 center back across the back, as Dobes likes to say. And then we have 18-year-olds on our bench. And, it's not to say that no one else has that, but it just goes to show that once we get fully healthy, we can make a good run at this thing. But this has not been our season health-wise. But stoked for Rasmus again. I fall more in love with the guy every single game. Mainoo did the dirty work on that second goal, by the way. Pull the disgusting.
I don't know what was best about that.
The croqueta around and then Delo just on. Yeah. I was gonna say they on the first touch just whips it in there, and McTominay just does it like he does every week, bro. He's just that guy. The one thing we'll never be able to know because it's impossible, but it would just be interesting if we could go back in time and replay McTominay's career path, and instead of converting to a center midfielder under Jose, that he came in as a center midfielder, if he stayed the course as a forward, if he never converted to a center midfielder, and he was just
can't play in our own half, he literally can't play.
He can't do it, but
box.
Yeah, and what's funny is when he scored that goal, Goldbridge was Rasmus gets the goal. Rasmus, oh no, it was Scooby-Doo. It's just so funny. He's just always in the right place when it comes to these late games, late goals, whatever. 3 points is 3 points, as we say all the time. I couldn't be more thrilled with this game.
I think Unai lost this game when we subbed in Lindelof and he subbed out Diaby because Lindelof was getting cooked and still got cooked. But like the moment that you take Diaby out, like we didn't settle in a little bit more, but just the fact that Diaby was like Lindelof literally would receive the ball with his left foot and touch it back to his right and face back to our own goal. And then defensively, he was just getting torched by everybody that came near him. So the moment that Diaby came out of that game, it was like almost a sigh of relief because Diaby was cooking him.
Yeah, the one, like, I guess, not that this matters to anyone else, but passage, like play of possession in the second half, especially towards the end of the second half when it was equal, I was really confused. There was like, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8 minute stretch that it felt like that we played with it like in our back four, back to Onana, back four, back to Onana. Dobe sent a message being like, here's the problem. We're trying to play it around with Maguire and Lindelof who can't hold on to the ball when you have Varane and Delo who can, but we would refuse to play over there. But what they were doing genuinely is like kind of what we saw Brighton do a lot last year, where the center backs stand on the ball. They make the forwards come out of their press and break the line so then they can play a penetrating pass. And we saw Brighton do it all year last year, and Manchester United doesn't do that. And so I was so confused in this. They just don't. They play counterattack football is what it is. But like we were absorbing all of this pressure. And I was like, for the love of God, kick the ball forwards. Like, what are we doing? And then sure enough, like the 3 or 4 times that we actually played that penetrating pass led to 3 goal scoring opportunities and what ended up being the game winner. I mean, Garnacho had 2 of those opportunities, missed slightly wide on the right post. And then the second one, he shot right at Martinez. But it was kind of crazy watching. I was like, that had to have been a halftime adjustment saying that like, we're just going to absorb pressure, make them get out of their defensive block, and then we're going to go. And it worked. And I'm not saying that that's what we need to do every single week, but I thought it was like, if it works, Ten Hag's masterclass. And then if it doesn't, you're like, what the fuck is going on? But I think it is what it is.
You sent me a text in our group that there was a 10-minute period. Nobody had any fucking clue what you guys were doing. Like no, the midfielders, the midfielders weren't dropping far close enough to the back line. The forwards weren't even in frame. No one was close to them to even be able to make that pass. I'm not ready to credit Ten Hag on this one. I think Dobe said it best. You did what you had to do. The second half
was a masterclass by him, though.
I don't know.
He took off Rashford and put Bruno out right, who Bruno slides in the middle, which literally led to Mano having to slide out right, which led to Delo getting forward, which led to McTomminay scoring.
You guys hate Bruno on the right. It's your number one pet peeve. You hate Bruno on the right. You hate Scott McTominay. All you've done all year and the last 2 years is dog Scott McTominay. So you're not going to sit here and be like, oh, that second half. Villa should have had 3 goals. They should have bet 5 on you guys, and you're walking out here Ten Hag masterclass.
Did his subs work to perfection?
McTominay scored a goal with his only touch of the game.
He's being used correctly. Like he can't play football. Scott McTominay is competent when you need a goal. Like he's competent in the box. And Bruno sliding in the middle literally meant that Mano slid out right, beat somebody, Delo whips in a crossing because he can press high because we don't have a right winger, and we score.
I think it's way more like, fuck it, get Tommy on there, maybe he'll win a header in the box. Like, it definitely
That's all that he's good at.
It's not him being like, this is the play. It's him being like, hopefully there's a chance. Yeah, he's down there somewhere. I truthfully think Villa should have pulled this back. I think Villa should have won. I think Villa shot themselves in the foot multiple times, and I think you guys did everything you needed to get 3 points. But I'm not going to be like, oh, he totally outworked Villa. I will say Emery pulling Diaby was a problem.
When does he get credit?
He's not getting it from me now. He hasn't gotten it from you guys up until this point of the year. Like, I don't know what changed in the last couple of months.
What, we got healthy?
Some players. You're just literally sitting here talking about your bench and there being nobody there. No one's that healthy.
4 wins out of 5. Like if you can't credit him when he gets healthy for putting performances and putting a team and making a sub perfectly that works out, when can you credit him?
It's not this win. Villa should have won. That's right. I'm gonna.
I don't know when.
I have
but
no
it's not
more.
now.
I have no more defense for it. But this was not.
I don't think Spurs should have beat like Brighton either, but they did.
I don't think Spurs should have beat half the teams they should have this year. But
And
they have.
masterclass.
That it's all been
for
all
Prez.
been from a formation and from a style and from a system, and you guys are still worrying. You still don't know what that system and style is going to be game to game. Like,
You want to know what our system is? What our style is? Get fucking points. Get
We
points on the board.
We have had 14 different center back pairings this year.
oh,
14.
same.
14. We have had over 20,
Like
20
same.
different back fours.
We were playing Ben Davies and Emerson Royale. Don't.
At least you know he's going to be there.
They're wing backs. We played 4 wing backs in multiple games in the last 2 months.
Bro,
Don't speak ill on the goat.
But there's games where I would rather put him in there than sit there and have to watch Johnny Evans play.
I don't know. Johnny
Preach.
Evans has been a baller.
Why? Because he got 1 assist. Just played that 1 pass. 3 points is 3 points, fellas. United to the top, to the very, very top, to the tippy.
We're
3
coming
points.
for fourth. We're coming for fourth.
Yep, you guys sure are. Moving on to a team not coming for fourth, but working their damnedest at it.
Top half
Chelsea.
of the table.
Chelsea,
Welcome.
top half, 3 points. Also left it late to Palace away today. Not as it's not what I would say like the United game was, where I thought Villa should have had some. I don't think Palace was offering a ton up front. They scored an absolute fucking worldly. Yeri Lamina, I believe, or was that
Lerma.
Lerma.
Jefferson Lerma.
Jefferson Lamb, outside of that worldie, they didn't do a ton for me. Chelsea pulled through at the end. Nikki, what are your thoughts? It was a tough watch, not tough watch, but I could see and understand if you were stressing.
Yeah, it definitely was. Not gonna lie, starting the game, in our performance against Villa last week, we had a great game and we had a great performance. So coming into this game, I fully thought that it was going to be the complete opposite, just like it has been for the entire season. Once we have a great game, we usually have a piss poor game the next one. And to be fair, I thought it was going down that hill in the first half. The lineup that Poach came out with, I texted you guys in the beginning. I didn't hate just because of the fact that Nico Jackson was starting out left. I think when we start Sterling out there, I've told you many times, I think it leaves Chilwell on an island. But in this first half, the big thing I noticed is no matter who you put up at the striker position for us, they seem to play poorly for that time frame that they're there. Because in the first half, Cole Palmer did not touch the ball at all. And I think that was kind of why we didn't have really anything moving forward in the first half. I also think, yes, it was a worldie from Crystal Palace, but I also think it was off a foul. I think Caicedo was fouled in that buildup and then kind of got the ball and shot it off of the foul. But neither here nor there. That was their only chance, and it was a nice goal. You can disagree, but I think he was.
Completely disagree.
Regardless, one thing that what'd you say? Sorry, I didn't hear what you said.
You should have. If he wins the first tackle, he doesn't get the goal doesn't happen.
Yeah, if Nico Jackson doesn't get lost with the ball either.
They don't. Yeah, Jackson isn't. That is 100% true. But I do think in the second tackle of him almost losing the ball, he is fouled. But regardless, one thing that happened this game that I was very happy for, and something we haven't seen at all, was Poach making halftime adjustments that seemed to work. He took off Madwicki at halftime and brought in Nkunku. And to be fair, like I just told you guys, anyone that plays the striker position goes absent. Nkunku once again was absent when he was playing on the pitch. But for some reason, Palmer going to the right side seemed to open up us drastically. I also think something that Gallagher mentioned, and as I'm on the topic of Conner Gallagher, he had a world-class performance, and he's consistently been putting him in for us. And I know I dogged him early on, but I am a full Gallagher truther now. You guys can hate me on that.
We'll see you. We'll see you next week.
But I do think Poach had the right game plan going into the second half. He allowed our wing backs to get higher up the pitch, which I thoroughly enjoyed, and I thought we needed when they're playing a low block against us. The other big thing I wanted to bring up, And it's kind of similar to what I was saying about Trent Alexander-Arnold, but Thiago Silva, he got hurt in this game. Like, I hope he gets better. But when he was taken off the pitch, we seemed to play better. The ball was being passed around our defensive back line a lot faster. We were finding opening spots a lot quicker. So when he came on, when he came off, I thought we kind of played a lot better. But all in all, 3 points. I was super thrilled for Conner Gallagher to get 2 goals against Crystal Palace. Everyone was questioning why he's celebrating. He's a blue through and through. He was on loan to Crystal Palace from Chelsea. He's allowed to celebrate as much as he wants. But yeah, interested to see your guys' take because I'm happy with 3 points and moving on.
I can't wait for you to say that Thiago Silva's still world class after next week's game.
No,
when he gets a 7.0 on FOTMob, because you are the most back and forth mother.
I said it the last 3 weeks that I don't think Thiago Silva has been playing well, and he's been causing our team issues. And I don't understand where you're
I'll check the receipts, but
you can't.
Maybe it's like maybe you go 3 on 3 off.
The quote of his wife last game, like I'm completely okay with you pulling up the receipts of me saying Thiago Silva is an idiot.
Here's the deal, bro. I think you're
the accountability. It's hand up accountability.
Yeah, I think you're looking favorably on this game because you scored in the 90 plus minutes. You scored in the 91st. Yeah, 100%. Because, like, let me just give you an alternate scenario. And it's not true because it's not going to happen. But that game ends 1-1. We're sitting here talking about how there was no game plan in the second half, how Poch did make a sub, but it didn't work because Nkunku just was ghosted the entire time.
Keep going.
But the thing is that, like, I don't want you to sit there and be like, we put in a good performance. The second half was good. Like, you all were dog shit in the second half as well. You just happened to score a game winner. And then the third goal doesn't even count. But, like, on it, I watched the whole game, bro. I was watching the entire game.
Because I agree with you, and like we've said before, that would have been the Chelsea of what I've been watching of the entire season, which is Poch not having any impact on the game. And I said it last time. I haven't physically seen something. But guess what, Henry? That didn't happen. This game, there was actually an impact. I think the game drastically changed in the second half. We had way more possession and a lot more chances on goal. Yes, it took us to the 90th minute to score. But even before then, we were breaking them down a whole different way than we were in the first half. So I'm not saying that I'm thrilled about our performance and that it's on the up and up, but I'm happy that I saw some identity and some change and a manager into our side.
Personally,
all that matters is 3 points.
That's what I'm saying. Like, favorably. Like, what do you mean? I'm just happy for goals.
I'm a little confused personally because it sounds like Hen is saying that Pochettino making a substitution at half and still not really having a game plan didn't lead to a masterclass. Is that it? I'm pretty sure that you guys just literally flip-flopped on what happened. You described the exact same scenario because I watched that full game too. And I know for a fact they were way better in the second half. Whether or not it was Nkunku and that actual sub,
and we scored
very much so was different.
Just subs. Like,
from the subs.
Yeah.
Who had a masterclass and who didn't? Was it Poch's not?
Okay.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm agreeing with you.
This is crazy. This is crazy discourse.
The standards,
right now.
the double standards here are insane.
It's crazy. Hold on.
A Conner Gallagher masterclass.
It's craziest that we're bantering the most banter we've had with Chelsea fans in the last couple of years has been after they've won. Because it's been so boring to talk about how much they've been losing
sad.
or spending that we're talking about them the most ass backwards.
It's wild. Cole Palmer goal contribution, but that has nothing to do with the sub that Poch made, right? Just like Scott McTomminay scoring,
No, yeah.
Brother, if Enzo Fernandez missed that goal, I feel like you would be like trying to hang him in the city center.
I definitely I would have been upset with him, but I also think he had a performance outside of the goal. I think he's been putting in shifts here and there.
I thought Gusto was really good today too.
Well,
I did too.
I'm hoping his injury is nothing crazy because I agree with you. I think Gusto's a baller.
I love a wingback.
Yeah.
We love wingbacks on this podcast.
Welcome to the Mecca of Banter, the podcast about wingbacks that we love.
Jake Nowitzki.
That wraps up the Prem recap. We got a couple of
Boys, 3 points. 3 points for everyone. Got to say it again. 3 points for everyone.
I still want to know the double standard.
3 points is 3 points is 3 points. Ten Hag, no masterclass. Potch
There's more
masterclass.
towards
Personal
10, I
opinion.
believe, those.
A couple things we do want to hit on before we wrap up here. Leverkusen took on Bayern Munich in the top of the Bundesliga clash this week, and they took a 2-0 win, which should have been my Mecca bet of the week because it was so obvious that was going to happen to me. I personally profited. So that was awesome. Harry Kane. Not it's wild to me that he could break the Bundesliga record for goals in one season and not win a trophy for the first time in Bayern's existence of a club. I'm pretty sure I saw it since however long ago that they started. They have not had many seasons that they didn't win a trophy.
I have no.
I'm way more credit to Leverkusen.
Yeah, I have no beef with Harry Kane, but that would be hilarious if that.
I don't either, but the fact that he's not on Spurs now makes it funny to me. Did I want him to go there and do well? Yes. Is it going to be funny if they don't win something as a team collective whole? Pretty funny. My man has plenty of personal awards. That would be just all time to me. But Leverkusen was sick.
They are sick, and they just keep getting sicker.
Jabi got it spot on. The first 10 minutes of the game. Here, let me pull my notes. The first 10 minutes of the game, it looked like it was all Bayern, and then the moment that Leverkusen scored, the game flipped. It was all of a sudden Leverkusen was keeping possession. They felt more dominant. Got Bayern sort of chasing the game a little bit. And having watched the game, I wasn't really sure what Bayern's game plan was either.
They had no answers.
They had no idea what was going on. They do have dangerous players on their team, but I think this game could have been worse than it was. Yes, it ended up 3, but there was chances where this could have been a little bit worse. And this is that game where
it was 3.
If you're Thomas Tuchel, this is your all right, decent season. So then we haven't won a trophy yet. We haven't advanced in the polka, whatever it may be. Let's go to Leverkusen. This is our get right game. Let's go back top of the table. And the exact opposite happened. I think we're all happy with the result, but Jabi got it spot on and continues to get it spot on. He didn't start Frimpong, which has been probably one of their standout players this season. He didn't start him for tactical reasons, and it worked perfectly. And then brings on Frimpong, and he scores. It's perfect.
Yeah, they're definitely one of the most electric teams in Europe. And do they have I think they have a European match coming up on Thursday. They've got a couple opportunities to win some stuff. These guys are legit. I wouldn't want to face them in anything. You know what I mean? They're dogging Bayern like that right now. That's awesome. I hope he stays. He's not going to stay.
I was about to say he's for sure leaving.
Their sporting director came out today or yesterday being he's 100% going to be here next season.
I mean, I saw an interview post-match with him, and they were like, well, you saw that the Liverpool job's open. What are you thinking? And he laughed awkwardly. It was haha, I don't know. I'm focusing on this season. It's hard for me to think he doesn't.
If they win the league, do you think it's more likely he stays or leaves?
Stays.
You think?
I would.
I feel if they finish second, I think that's more likely he leaves. That's just
I hope he's there because I don't want to face him in the Premier League personally. We're sliding on after that big win. We're going to give quick round predictions on the 4 Champions League matchups this week. Nothing really that wild or juicy that stands out to me on paper. But worth mentioning, we've got City home to Copenhagen. Quick, let's just run through and give his numbers. I'm going 3-1.
3-0.
I say 2-0.
I like the 2-0.
I don't think it matters where it's at. I'm going to go 4-0.
I'm gonna be betting the over tomorrow for anyone listening. So take that information with what you will. I'm doing okay recently in terms of betting. Leipzig, Madrid, definitely the most notable matchup in my opinion.
Bellingham.
Leipzig at home, no Bellingham. Leipzig's not the team that we knew in the last couple of years, in my opinion. I think they've worked really hard to get out of their group, done well as a team, but Madrid's disgusting. Thoughts?
Yeah. I think it's a 2-0 dub even without Jude. And to be fair, it was one thing I wanted to bring up in this podcast that I feel like we kind of are not speaking of him as much because, Jude's amazing, but Vinny Jr. is insane as well. That last game they had over the weekend against Granada, I can never pronounce the
Getafe.
Girona. However you pronounce it.
Girona.
Goal and assist. He had a goal that was a banger. Then he plays an outside of football to Jude that was just absolutely insane. And then on the third goal, he beats two guys on some similar menu touch, around one defender, beats another guy, and then places it off.
I like the menu touch.
That's what I like. It's a certain menu.
That's what we were just talking about. Yeah.
Why did you give them that? Why did you give them that?
I fucked it. My fault, Hoove. That's my bad. But it was by Vinny, and I just wanted to give him a shout as well because we talk about Jude all the time, but Real Madrid is buzzing right now, and I could see them winning 3-0 even without Jude.
Yeah, I think they'll cruise. I'm going 2-0 Madrid. Yeah. Unsung hero as well, Rodrigo. He's a baller. When he went to Madrid, I didn't think anything of the kid, and he's just a baller. So Vinny, I don't need to go into any more depth than you did, Nick. I think he's gas.
I think Vinny's he's one of those game changers, world beaters.
Yes,
any moment, any match, guy could produce something. I'm 2-0 on this one too.
3-1.
Yeah, I mean, we're all right in the same boat. Probably 2-goal deficit. I'm going to say 4-1 just to be different. But
probably 2-goal deficit 4-1.
Next up, we have Lazio at home to Bayern Munich. Which
this could be an interesting one.
I was going to say this one's gotten juicier in the last couple of days.
You said it's at Bayern?
Yeah.
No, Lazio at home.
Oh, I'm going to 1-0 Lazio.
I can easily see this. I can easily see this being 1-1. Harry Kane pen, Lazio last 80-minute,
2-1
something like that.
I don't know. They've got some goal scorers on their team. I'll say 2-2. I think the over could hit here.
I'm going to go Bayern 2-1. I think this is. We've seen it from Tuchel in the Champions League. This is where
that's true. It's just bread and butter.
One game, find a way to get a result.
Nick, you're
trust Tuchel. I'm rooting for Lazio. Harry Kane not winning a trophy would be the best thing to happen in football in so long.
Last match, PSG at home to Sociedad. I don't have any thoughts for this one. I don't like PSG. I don't like the French league.
Yeah, I don't like them anymore. I don't know what happened to that club. I mean, I obviously do know what happened to that club. I think Henry's talked about it a bunch, but I just anytime I see them, I'm like, I don't like watching them anymore.
I think they win this 2-1, but I'm not going to watch it.
Yeah, I'm not going to watch it either, and I just know that all of the pundits are going to say Kylian Mbappe playing against his future La Liga opponent, or is he? I'm so sick of it already. 1-1.
I still think on paper and in a lot of positions, PSG are better than Sociedad in every position. So I think 2-0. Mbappe double.
PSG is getting to that Saudi Arabian league level for me, where it just doesn't matter. I think they're 10 plus points clear in the league. I don't know anything about either of these teams, truthfully. I'm just going to go 2-2 for fun.
What did I say? 2-1? Yeah, 2-1. Kylian Mbappe double or something. Before we wrap, we're going long here, so we're going to just give quick thoughts on something that's popped up recently in world football, has been kind of the talk of the town, so to say. The blue cards and sin bins are set to be tested and introduced into, I believe, the FA Cup coming up next year is where they're planning on running it. These are going to be decisions for yellow card offenses that are considered rough or, cynical, I think is the word that the English like to use. Which is stopping counterattacks, grabbing jerseys, taking guys out because they're about to spring a counter, or anything they just decide to deem too harsh, but not red card worthy. I think there's something for that, and it's called a yellow card. But we're starting power plays here in the World's game, and the boys definitely have some thoughts. We'll try and keep it tight, but people are pissed. This isn't what the game needs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think.
Oh, sorry, Wings.
It is.
As someone who has had many yellows in their lifetime and is very passionate when on the pitch. And to be fair, I think we could literally do an entire Mecca moments on this, because I think if this actually comes about, I think it could actually ruin our game. But keeping it short, I think this whole respect the refs, I'm all for that movement, because I do believe refs aren't respected as much. But I also think a referee's job in footy is to be as irrelevant as they possibly can during the game. None of their calls should make drastic differences. They shouldn't be questionable. It should very well be not making a stamp or imprint on the game. And I think introducing this blue card is doing the exact opposite. It is giving referees authority that they really don't need. I think blue cards are going to cause a lot more controversy than any good could ever come with it. And I also think many of us have played very high competitive at this or in this sport. So like getting a blue card, I feel like would be almost retroactive of what you're wanting it to do. Like if I was told to go sit on the sideline for 10 minutes and think about what just happened, like I would be pissed off coming back in that I had to sit out and cost my team those 10 minutes. So I just
throw another wild tackle and maybe get a red because you were that pissed.
I think.
I mean, also think about like the potential injury risk, bro.
Yeah,
you're sitting stationary for 10 minutes, and even if you're doing warm ups on the side, like it's a long time. Nick, you hit it spot on. Of like the referees need to be as irrelevant as possible, and every year I feel like, at least for the last couple of years, we've just seen more and more and more of a referee's influence on the game, and it's so hard to watch. And I think that. I thought this was a joke, by the way.
So did I.
I thought this blue card thing was a joke. I had no belief that this was a real thing, because why would someone ever do that? Why would we ever do that in the game? And turns out it's not a joke. And I think it sucks. So you're not going to get any good backing from me on this. I'm so against it. And no other, hockey has, a penalty box, but yeah, because they fight people, but like no other sport does this. You know what I'm saying? Like you're
100% changing the game.
Yeah.
It's a different game.
Yeah. It's so stupid. It's the worst. And, best case scenario is that they try it for a couple games in the FA Cup and they're like, this is terrible and everyone hates it and let's not do it. But I just feel like it's not going to go that way, and we're going to start seeing it.
I'm, as someone who's gotten both 2-minute penalties in hockey and yellow cards in soccer.
You have a unique perspective here.
100%. Two completely different games. You guys are right. But I also think, have they announced where they're going to be testing it at? I can't remember what the...
So I think, I'm reading it right now on ESPN. It said it doesn't say where, but that... I guess they've tried it since 2019 in a few different leagues, but it says that it won't necessarily even be implemented until 26 to 27.
And that's my point exactly, is if they have tested it other places, hasn't worked, have tried to test it other places, I don't see it ever making it to the top, because if they've already been testing it for 2 or 3 years, with how quickly they moved with VAR once the technology was available, I don't see how it doesn't. See how it does make its way to the Premier League.
The only thing I'm nervous about that, Winks, is I have a feeling like the feedback they're going to get from referees is probably all going to be good with it. Where as far as the
I don't give a shit about the referees, dude.
I know.
Game.
I agree with you. We all are in agreement with that. But obviously with like VAR decisions and stuff like that and this whole respect the referees, like I feel like that's kind of the agenda they're trying to push, which we as players all agree with. But like I feel like some people don't put that into perspective when going through those decisions.
I agree with everything that you guys have said in terms of why not. I think my biggest concern that comes from this blue card is it genuinely becomes subjective from one referee to the other. And if you see this is going to take like we've all had referees that we get along with, don't get along with. This is going to take like referees with relationships and players. It's going to take players past experience, past things they've done. All this is going to be taken into account. Where referees, it's a foul, it's a foul. It's a handball, it's a handball. It's a goal, it's a goal. That's what the game is supposed to be. It's not supposed to be somebody sitting up in a booth saying, well, to me, this looks like if we freeze frame it, it's stopped. Like, that's not the game. And that's kind of the same thing with this referee. Anthony Taylor is going to call a blue card.
Just about to say, my word, you imagine.
For something that's completely different than Michael Oliver would call in today's game. Like, that to me is the issue. And I just don't get why, if you're going to do this, like the first thing of dissent, give a yellow. Second, give a second yellow, and then it's 10 men anyway. Like I think that's going to solve the game more so than, hey, you're sitting out 10 minutes to where now it's a whole different game. It's 11 versus 10. One team has to sit in for 10 minutes, and then like somebody has to come in. It makes zero sense. It literally changes the entire spectrum, not only of the game, but as a coach, you have to be prepped now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you have to be prepped now to say, all right, we may get a blue card. What's our formation? What are we going to drop into when it comes down to 10 men? And yes, coaches can do that, but it's also completely changing the way that you think and approach a game.
And the whole goalie thing that you brought up beforehand. Like, what if a goalie gets a blue card? Like, who's going in for the goalkeeper? Like, there's
Kyle Walker.
Yeah, Harry Kane.
Man just earned himself a new contract.
I was waiting to say this, but Nick has a personal vendetta against Anthony Taylor, and this might as well just be called the Anthony Taylor card because he's going to only
for him.
He's going to. I could see you getting worked up over there, knowing that you're picturing bald ass Anthony Taylor, and it's just going to be used on guys like Casemiro and Romero, and those guys are going to get hosed on these calls because that's the defenders that they are.
Goldbridge was literally talking about the fact that when you're looking to sign players, if this is implemented, you don't sign Casemiro's. You don't sign Camero's because those guys are going to
power play now.
Casemiro's going to lead the league in penalty minutes, man. Like it's
unreal.
So I think general consensus, and from everything that I've seen in media too, nobody wants this. The managers don't want this. The players don't want this. The fans don't want this. Ange put it perfectly, in my opinion. And he was just like, every other sport in the world is doing everything they can to declutter and speed up the game, speed up the process. We're doing the opposite here. This is the world's game. And he said the same thing. It's like, you put two shoes down and a ball, you've got a goal and you've got a game. Let's go. Like, that's what makes it great. We're just doing too much. We're just doing too much. VAR is even too much at this point.
At least fix VAR before you add
God, the next time I have to wait 5 minutes for a decision, dude.
I wonder if blue cards will be reviewable. Like if it's a foul or something, like can you review it to say it's a blue
dissent? Like dissent would be a blue card. So like then you're like, that's so subjective. Like, oh my, it's awful.
So dumb, bad for the game. But what is good for the game is the Mecca of Banter and this episode that we have just wrapped up. Thank you again for joining us. We are live on our socials. We've got AI out here editing clips for us. You guys have had to have seen those on the posts recently. Shout out Opus. We love the wraparound type, quick hitting jokes that we can get out to you guys on TikTok and social media and Instagram. Those have been great. Stay tuned for some super big developments with the Mecca of Banter. More information on plenty of things to come your way. Next week, the preseason review will probably be out also next week as well, planning that one.
We're all going to be on the same side again, fellas.
We're all on the same side again. It's a lot of fun. Less banter, more information. Still jokes. We still get to crack them. Rooting for the same team is extremely different, though. So, as always, thanks again. Appreciate it if you made this far. Boys, checking out. Peace.
Cheers, boys.